On Thursday, July the 7th, 2011, at approximately 8:54 a.m., Public Safety Communication Center received a request for service to attend 52 Canterbury Street, St. John City Center, the office of Richard Oland. This was later determined, it was later determined at the scene that Mr. Oland had expired. On Friday, July the 8th, an autopsy was performed at the Horizon Health Network, St. John Regional Hospital. Preliminary results of the autopsy, coupled with the evidence at the scene, clearly indicate that Richard Oland was a victim of foul play, homicide. There is no evidence at this time to suggest that this was a robbery or a random act. The St. John Police Force Major Crime Unit is in full charge of the investigation. The manner of death and any apparent motive will remain with the investigational team at this time. The investigation thus far has gleaned many interviews, forensic collection and analysis, pathology, and technical support. We are collectively committed to bringing anyone involved in Richard Oland's death to justice. However, we must be cognizant of the rules of evidence and procedural fairness. Grieving family and friends need answers to the question, who is responsible? Our sincere condolences go out to the family and loved ones of Richard Oland. And with that, we'll take any questions.
Can you tell us anything on what makes you, come to the conclusion that it was foul play?
The evidence at the scene and pathology clearly indicates to us that this was an act of foul play. No, I can't. That remains with the investigational team at this time.
You say it's not a random act. Would it be fair to say that the perpetrator would be known to Richard Oland? Yeah,
I would suggest to you that at the end of this investigation, we'll find that the perpetrator and the victim knew each other. There was an acquaintance there.
Does that mean that any other people downtown shouldn't be worried with this?
You're absolutely correct. This is not a random act. We do not have somebody in the city of St. John creating havoc or mayhem. This is a selective investigation relative to a homicide.
Do you have any suspects?
Any information relative to suspects or persons of interest remain with the investigational team at this time.
Is any of the evidence that you've gathered so far being processed by outside agencies?
Well, a lot of our processing takes place obviously in crime labs, and those crime labs are under the administration of the RCMP. So that would be, yes, a fair assessment. Obviously, through pathology, they send out some of their stuff, and they internalize it as well. So those are folks who are doing the pathology end of it, and that information, hopefully, in a short period of time, will get to our table.
Did you find a weapon?
That will be with the investigational team.
Is there a reason why there was a delay from the time that you would determine that this was a homicide to telling us today?
Yeah, quite frankly, the investigational team, we were there at the morning, Thursday morning. They were processing the scene. We were gleaning lots of information, but the final analysis is when we went through the pathology process, the autopsy, and we were able to marry up what we see or articulate it at the scene and what pathology gave us. So we needed to be prudent. I think that most people can appreciate that these are very sensitive and emotional investigations, and there's family and loved ones here too that need to have information, so we have to be aware of that.
Has like you did I understand about 20 officers involved in the initial search of the area for evidence. Is that number of officers been reduced at this point as it's become more investigative rather than gathering? Sure.
First of all, as you may or may not be aware, what we do is called front-end loading. First of all, we follow a national model, a major case management national model, and the first thing you do is front-end load, and you put as many resources as are necessary to glean as much information as is possible over a short period of time. So we, in fact, did that. The investigational team is still around 15 members, and we can assign a member here and there or take somebody off. If there's more information comes in and we have to deal with it, then we can put more people on. But the core group of investigators remains at this point between 10 to 15 people.
Are you able to say who you're looking looking to speak to right now? Is there somebody you want to speak to that you haven't been able to find, you haven't been able to see?
No, fair question. We've been fairly successful with respect to people that we want to talk to, but there are more interviews. There's nobody that's avoiding us, if that's the case, or that we're having a difficult time finding. People have been very cooperative, and quite frankly, people want answers too, and so do our members that are investigating this. They spend over the last 3 or 4 days a lot of sleepless nights, as you can appreciate, working very hard to find those answers. But we are in the evidence collection and fact-finding stage of the investigation. So these are crucial times for us, and our members are working long hours to come up with some idea what took place.
Can you give us a sense of just who you have been speaking to? Are you family, friends, business associates? I don't know.
Absolutely, family, friends, business associates. Those are the interviews. Obviously, we've collected and analyzed a lot of information as the question has been put forward. Is there outside agencies assisting in that collection? Absolutely, and we will involve whatever or whomever is necessary to assist in our case. So whether it's technical support that we need or something that we do not have here, we will certainly go outside and ask for that assistance.
Are the suspects or people of interest, are they on the St. John area, or is there anybody you're looking for outside of St. John at all?
That will have to remain with the investigational team. And I can appreciate the fact that you would love to have names and answers to that, but we're in that phase where we can't do that right now.
Have you received tips from the public in any way? Have you heard anything from the public?
We've had some preliminary stuff, but it's been very selective at best.
So is this one of the cases that you don't need assistance from the public?
Well, no, I wouldn't go that far. I think that in every case you want assistance from the public. If somebody has a crucial piece of information or evidence or observations, that is very important to us, and we would assist, or we would encourage, pardon me, to have any assistance in that regard.
What can you tell us about the video surveillance you gathered from 2 instances?
Well, and I'll pass that over to the deputy chief, who's intricately involved in the cameras and that type of evidence.
Thank you, Chief. To answer the question, obviously, in this and any major investigation that we do, video that's out there that's available in the public is obviously germane to these investigations. So we'll gather as much as we can.
Have they been helpful so far in this?
Well, again, the video will be brought in to be analyzed, and I can't say anything more than that at this time.
It has not been analyzed.
I say it will be analyzed, and I cannot say anything more than that with regards to the video.
Can you tell us if there was anything useful seen on those tapes? Anything of use?
Yeah, I think in general it's all useful because it gives us timelines, it gives us a lot of information that obviously we weren't there to observe, so we certainly have a lot of that to go through. If you can only appreciate that you've got in excess of 36 hours of cameras information from some places, so we have to go through that. We marry it up with interviews that we've had and see where we can corroborate stuff. So, you know, it's that type of an evidence collection, and then you have to go and deal with it. And if it's useful, great. If it's not, it's just another avenue we went down.
Can you give us a sense of how far you are from identifying either a suspect or arresting someone?
As I mentioned, we're in the collection and the fact-finding phase of the investigation. I can tell you right now that the investigational team is working very hard to take that information. If you can always be said that you've got tunnel vision in an investigation and you're focusing on one person or a specific thing. And I would rather say the analogy here is that we're using a funnel. We're grabbing all this information and hopefully we can come to a suspect or suspects in this investigation. That is a very long process, my friend, and we're being methodical. Our folks are being very methodical, and they're analyzing the information. We do not want to make a mistake, and because of that, our folks are being methodical, and very important to do so.
So you basically, an arrest is not imminent.
Again, that's what the investigational team, they may come up with a piece of evidence this afternoon that says, hey, we've got something here, or it could be 2 months from now. But we have to go through a fair process, and I think I've articulated that the rules of evidence and procedural fairness is very important. So our officers have to get, if they want to grab information, they obviously have to get warrants, and those are the type of things that we have to do. It takes a lot of time and effort.
What can you tell us about when Mr. Oland actually died?
Well, the timeline is obviously is a long timeline because it would be somewhere around 6 o'clock to the morning that we arrived there on Thursday. So you have a long timeline. So I can't nail that down specifically for you. That's just not there right now.
Have you ever had such a high-profile victim in the past, or can you put that into words, just Richard Oland as a victim in the city?
Well, what I couldn't put into words is that the seriousness of any homicide investigation doesn't know any socioeconomic boundaries. We work very, very hard when we have a homicide or any serious file. So our members are being very careful, as they would in these type of cases. So while this is a high-profile individual who has passed away, this is not lost in our investigational team relative to the methodical work they have to do.
Is the police maintaining a presence around proximity of the family? You said there was no danger to the public, but obviously a member of the family has been murdered, and other family members might feel at risk. Is there a police presence around the family? No,
we don't have a police presence around the family, but we are in constant contact with the family, and the family's been very good with us thus far. So, no, there's no one person that's looking after or watching out for the family, and there's no indication from this crime scene that needs to be done.
Can you give us any sense of the nature of the death? I mean, was it a particularly violent death?
Again, I'd have to go back to my previous statement that has to remain with the investigational team.